Welcome to the place where we learn about and learn from the leaders in our field who are powering human creativity. I'm Aaron Dworkin, and this is Arts Engines. Thanks again for joining me here on Arts Engines. Today's guest is Monica Ellis, who is a founding member of Imani Winds and also faculty member at the Manhattan School of Music, amongst other things. Monica, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Aaron. I could not be happier to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, I am so excited to have you on the show. Obviously, it's great. Manhattan School of Music is one of our amazing creative partners, helped us to co-curate this show. But in addition to that, I have had the personal honor of being able to see and experience your artistry, your role as a musician, as a citizen for many years. And I am in awe of you. So I am
Uh,
excited to have you on the show.
thank you, thank you. Likewise. I mean, if we follow in your footsteps, that's for sure.
Oh, no, definitely not. Definitely not. So I thought, what would be a great way, even just to dive right in? There are so many in our audience who are, feel like they're pulled in multiple directions. I've got teaching over here, I've got performing,
Mhm.
I've got gigging, I've got, all of these things I'm trying to put together and I'm trying to think about my compensation, but also what brings me joy and all of these things, constructing what many of us now call a portfolio life. You are absolutely a demonstrated expert in this. So I thought we would just start off right there. Kind of, how do you view a portfolio life and how do you approach yours in a way
Mhm.
that has enabled such a sustainable level of success?
Well, yeah, this term portfolio career, it's interesting. It's a new one for me in a general sense. And I think because, my head's been in the trenches for so long that you kind of wake up and you say, oh, they call it a portfolio career. Oh, okay. I thought I was just grinding it out. I thought I was just saying yes to everything, doing all the things to create this career. And so I think though it's nowadays because there's so little work in very specific fields, i.e., orchestral jobs, i.e., certain administrative jobs at certain levels. Those fields are limited to us, and so it behooves us as musicians, as artists, as creators, to think about a broader, wider scope of what can create a career. I mean, it's not unlike what a financial planner would say, that you have to diversify in order portfolios in order to be successful. Focusing on one thing works in certain areas, and we can even talk about that too. But when you think about the course of a career, an entire output, then I think more is more. How do I approach it? Sometimes not very well, I'll admit. I'm a bit of a workaholic, which is something I'm working on. But so, I think we end up being that way because there's so many things between performing, administrating, teaching, family life. I'm a mom. I'm a parent. I have a whole other life in that world, and so it does take some deft skills to compartmentalize your brain at times to get all those done, but also some pretty high level time management skills as well. And well, I think we're all working on that.
And is there, as you go about it, kind of for someone who's out there who might be struggling with it, right? And especially might struggle with a family piece of, I feel like my family feels I'm not there enough, my work feels I'm not there enough,
Yeah.
right? Or these tensions. Is there any kind of one or two things that you have found that is successful, that has helped you to navigate that in an approach? I know you mentioned compartmentalizing it, but could you kind of for someone who's watching to tangibly be like, oh, all right, I could try this.
Yeah, right. Well, I think what has helped me with my time, with my personal time management, is being very specific about when you're going to take care of something. Everything is always the priority. right? Everybody's always at the top of the list, but that's not reality. And so, if we sort of take the pie in the sky ideal of I can do everything, of the super person, super mom, super woman, Superman, if we got to knock that off the list because it's unrealistic, it's not sustainable. So we're human. Don't forget that. Don't forget that sometimes when you try to do multitask and do everything, something will falter. So make a point. My world list. My world exists with lists. I function with lists all the time. I can't really live without my list. And I think about, okay, what is it that I have to do today? What is going to rise to the top of the priority list today? And then you just continue to kind of chip away. Otherwise, you get stuck sort of a in this hamster wheel of never getting really anything done, or feeling bad because you didn't get to that other thing. So, like I said, the priorities are always going to be there. Everything in your life will seem like it has to be a priority, but taking the time to actually create these lists of things that you have to do per day, per week, can really just make you feel more at ease, make you not feel so overwhelmed, make you feel like, okay, I can actually tackle this instead of it being completely this jarring, very unattainable act. And being grace and having grace, allowing yourself to be okay. We have to remember to give ourselves this grace to not force being so perfect all the time. I think that's super important. Otherwise, again, we just create these unsustainable environments that isn't healthy for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely hear you on that.
Yeah.
And so one of these components of your portfolio career, of course, has been a founding member of one of the most dynamic and impactful chamber groups that has existed in the field, Imani Winds, and that so many people look to. And I'm curious, kind of in that, a couple of things. How there's like a lot of people, right, who are like, oh, okay, I want to have this chamber group, etc. But you have all of these other components of your life. And did that kind of emanate from Imani Winds, or how do you view Imani Winds as it relates to the rest of your portfolio career?
Right, right, right. Well, and this is where this idea of priority does come within a larger portfolio career. At the end of the day, something is going to rise to the top, and that's I think just realistic. That's a realism type of thing that we have to sort of face, that everything is not going to be up here. And so for me, for us in Imani Wins, it has been always Imani Wins. We've had to say no to a number of amazing opportunities that we would have loved to have had the chance to take care of. My one quick story is that this has been some years ago, probably 6 or 7. I got asked to do something with Solange Knowles at in Hamburg at the Ebb Philharmonie, and I couldn't do it. I was like, I had it in my Wins gig somewhere, and then it was just as important in my mind, but it sure would have been cool to go play with Solange. And I told the gang, and they're like, "Really? You turned that down for us?" I was like, "Of course I did. Of course, that's so." So you do have to at a point when you're really trying to get serious about a chamber group, about whatever that thing is for you, there has to be that element of saying no to something else so that you can say yes to this. It does happen at some point. Um,
Absolutely. And there are
yeah,
so many chamber ensembles where maybe they might have so few are able to really achieve any success, right? It just seems often so hard. And then those that do, often they achieve it. And then there's usually like a roller coaster and things do seem to ebb. And there isn't that sustainability, right? Imani is so unique in its impact, but also its sustainability. And
yeah,
curious again for those in our audience who are like, I want to replicate that. I want to follow in
yeah.
your footsteps. Any kernels of wisdom or advice?
Sure, sure. Early on, we practiced as much as we possibly could. Now, that seems like a very novel idea, practice, of course. But what I think is, well, I can look back on it now and say, wow, this was something that we did right. We did plenty of things not so right. But we utilized our most valuable commodity, which is time. We utilized that we had the time to devote to just honing in on the craft. We practiced and rehearsed together ad nauseum. We sometimes clocked 4 days a week, 8 hours a day, and would just take off weekends, And we are now. I can look back on it, and we were able to bank those practice hours and lay that foundation, and the mental and the physical muscle memory that we created then. It's still here now. We've laid the foundation, and I can literally. My body can remember, my mind can remember those years of all those hours we put in to this day. And so I always tell younger groups, we have our own chamber music festival. We talk about it all the time at the festival. We say, use now. You think you're busy now. You're not busy. You're not busy. You might be, of course. But you're not even close to being busy. What you will be when you do have to create this portfolio, when you do have to have multiple forms of income to pay those bills, to adults, as we say. I'm adulting, right? So when you have the time in college or shortly thereafter school, when you have the time to devote to really earnest amounts of hours in the practice room with your group, take that time and lay that foundation. You'll be really glad and fortunate for it in the end. That's one tip. That's one tip. One other quick thing I would say is that we were most successful when we made a plan. Back to those lists, when we really really like dove into a project in a systematic plan sort of way. But then we threw the plan out the door when an X factor came in that was going to be just as cool or something really special. So being flexible within a plan, being malleable within a plan, I think is so important because it keeps you going on the straight and narrow. But when those cool things kind of come on and you might feel like, oh, that's a side swipe, but that's pretty cool. Let's shift because we don't want to miss that great opportunity as well.
Wow. Oh, this is absolutely extraordinary and awesome, awesome, awesome guidance
Thank
and
you.
tools. And one last thing related to that, right? People often talk in chamber ensembles about the human relationships, right? That like people get tired of each other or whatever, or those types of. So curious for those in our audience who are like, are there any approaches or tools that you were able to use in relationships, in human relationships, that has also enabled such sustainability?
Oh man, yeah, yeah. We often said on the road, we should be a reality show. We need a video camera. We need a camera just following us because
It
yeah,
would be.
it was funny. It was very odd. So there's a little bit of luck. There's a little bit of just magic that does occur. I'll admit, lightning struck us 27 years ago in 1997, where we found the five of us, and we just were immediately had so much chemistry. And then even as people um, went away from the group, and now we have three new members, three newish between the last 8 years, so not that new. But we found that chemistry again. So I do have to say that just we were really fortunate, really lucky. But it's like any relationship, we worked on it. We talked about feelings, about what do you need, what are you not getting in the group, what kind of agency can the rest of the group give you in order for you to be your most authentic full self. Where I took on an early role, of being an administrator, of being a leader within the group, and so now that's another portfolio item to add to the portfolio, that I'm the executive director of Imani Winds as well. So I'm emailing all day is all honestly what I do. But even as a leader, what we always had was artistic uh, agency. Everyone was and continues to be a part of the artistic aspect of the group. Yeah, I might lead something from needing to send, like I said, send that email. Kevin, our horn player, he says I'm vice president in charge of lobby calls. I'll tell us when we need to be in the lobby. Woohoo, you know. But when it comes to those really important decisions, the artistic ones, who we're going to collaborate with, what's the next recording project, what's the programming going to be? Those are collective decisions that we make. And I think that's the sustainable aspect. When everyone has a buy in, when everyone feels like their voice and choice, as my son would say, my voice and choice, when all of that is being heard constantly, consistently, then you feel like, okay, I want to stick around. This is something I want to do for the long term because I'm important to this operation. So we built that up with one another and cultivated that. And I think that led to the sustainability that we had and still continue to have.
Well, it is truly extraordinary. And
Thank
unfortunately, now
you.
we are just about out of time. But I always like to ask of all of my guests, this work, as you met reference, there must be some challenging days, right? Tough days, whether you're balancing the portfolio, career, et cetera. Um, are there any mechanisms you use as a leader that just help you during the toughest of times that you either turn to that helps you get through things?
Mm. Well, I depend on the help of others. That as a leader, you absolutely, and you know this so brilliantly that you're not the smartest person in the room. Take that off the table immediately. Have people around you that not only can bring great ideas to the table, but also bring good energy to the table. I say this to young people all the time because we're young folks are we're dealing with just growing up and figuring out who you are as an individual, just yourself. And so I say immediately, people that are not giving you the proper praise that you need, and I don't mean praise like boasting, boosting you up to some pedestal, but you're an important person in your own right. And so you need people around you that are going to support that notion. And so, I that's the key. Having people around that you can go to, that you trust, that will give you the right answer, whether it's what you want to hear or not want to hear. And so when I'm kind of just struggling with the all of the runnings of everything, I go to my colleagues. Hey, I need help with this. Hey, can we talk this through? This is something that will I'm not so sure about. I need some guidance here. And so just remembering you're not an island, even if you're a soloist, you're not an island. Have people around you that you can trust. Have people around you that will give you that you know just tough love information that you need, and you'll get through. It'll get through. Yeah.
Monica Ellis, you truly are one of the arts engines who is powering human creativity in our world. Thank you so much for everything that you have done to impact our field. Thank you so much for your friendship, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Aaron. You're the best. Amazing. You're very welcome. Thank you.